Hi guys, this is FPL Tips and welcome back to another Fantasy Premier League deadline stream. Hi there, hi Yaha, hi Ryan. I can see a couple of people who back on the live stream. Okay, so we'll start discussing. Well, there's nothing much to discuss about my last game week. It was horrible. So we'll come directly to my transfers. Okay, Anirudh has a question. Will Salah start? I think he'll start, but the problem is who's going to start along with him in the Liverpool team. So we'll discuss that in a minute. I'll just brief you guys about what my transfers are, and then we'll come back to the questions in the chat. Okay, so I've made two transfers. I've brought in Kevin De Bruyne in place of Mohamed Salah and Jamie Vardy in place of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So those are my two transfers. It's going to be really important and informative stream, and it's going to be season deciding as well. So stay tuned and stick to it. Okay, we've started having questions. Will Salah start? I think he'll start, but if even if he starts and there are a lot of changes alongside him, if Origi is playing and Henderson is not playing, maybe Keita is playing, Robertson is not playing. So I don't think he'll be able to perform the best he usually does. And that's the thing with Liverpool, that if they do not have their main players like Firmino, Henderson in the team, we've seen them their performance deteriorate. So if you own Salah, then it's okay, keep him. It's not necessary to transfer him out, but him starting is not that sure as well because he's played 3 or 4 games continuously right now. Is this a good week to triple captain? If yes, who do you go for? Yes, it's a good week. I would go for Kevin De Bruyne without a doubt. Ashish Kumar. Uh, Yaya says, do you think Wolves will keep a clean sheet? I think it's tough at the moment because they're playing a lot of games. Although I would, if there's some team I would fancy to keep a clean sheet, it would be Liverpool, it would be City, and then it would be Wolves. Hi Alden. Uh, Ryan says play a Watford defender. I think I was planning to play Kiko for Minya today, but then again, I have two major defenders already playing, which is Van Bissaka and Aurier. Then I'll have to replace Saiz for him. So that's a doubt we have to solve in the live stream, and that's a decision we'll have to make. Anyone knows who's missing from Newcastle lineup? FPL has flagged yes, ASM won't be playing as well. Uh, yes, ASM is not playing. That's an injury update. Lascelles is injured. I think even Longstaff is not going to play the match. So there are a lot of changes in the Newcastle team, and I think it's a good time to go for City assets. You might want to triple up on them, and we know that United assets are also essential. So a triple up on the Manchester assets is on the cards. Anirudh says Kevin De Bruyne or Salah for captain. I would go Kevin De Bruyne. I think it's much more of a safe captain choice, especially with the drop in form we've seen from Liverpool. The bounce back is imminent, but against Brighton, who are defensively compact, and at their home, it's going to be tough. Ryan says replace size. We'll decide that, Ryan. Alden says all I know is Saint Maximin, Lascelles, Almiron, Carroll are major doubts for the game. Even Longstaff and Hayden are out. Yes, that's true. Yaya says who's the best goalkeeper to have if you have as much money? I think Ederson is the best one. He's nailed on easy fixtures in the coming game weeks, and I think he's the best out of the lot. Maybe Allison, but then they have a couple of tough fixtures in terms of Arsenal and Chelsea. Mane, Kevin De Bruyne, or Bruno. Who should I captain? It's between Kevin De Bruyne and Bruno for me. Honestly, you'll have to take a pick. I think both are good captains for this game week. Either of them can score, so you'll just have to fancy your gut feeling and a bit of stats. Honestly, between Bruno and De Bruyne, since I have both, I would go with Kevin De Bruyne. -4 for Foden this game week. It depends on the player you're removing. If you're removing someone like Son, Pulisic, or Bruno, maybe even Marshall, then don't do that move. Hold on to it. If you have Kevin De Bruyne, maybe just captain him and stick to the team you have. Kane or Kevin De Bruyne for captain? I would still fancy Kevin De Bruyne. Yesterday, Kane was decent, to be honest. He had a couple of chances to score goals, but Tottenham were not that good. They were playing the typical Mourinho game. They were defensive most of the times, and then attacking less. So that's a concern for me. I initially had on my mind to bring in Kane instead of Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Vardy, but then I changed my mind after seeing yesterday's game, and I think I will stick to it. So if you have Kane, you can play him, but captaining him is a very big risk. Ashish Kumar says he's removing ASM. I think that's a good move. He's not going to feature in the next one. That's been very clearly said by Steve Bruce in the press conference. Mane, Bruno, Kevin De Bruyne, Pulisic, and Antonio. Good midfield. Yeah, that's a good move. Especially Antonio. That's a good pick. That's a differential one. There have a couple of good fixtures in the coming game weeks, and I think if he manages to score or assist a couple of goals, I think it's good for his price and the ownership as well. Ohan removes Salah and Connolly for Kane and Foden. I think for Foden, yes. Kane, it's risky, but you can obviously take your chances. Anirudh says, thanks for all of your help. No problem, Anirudh. Ashish says, I'm planning to go for Kane since Vardy doesn't have Chilwell and Madison right. I think Chilwell is a bit of a concern, honestly, to me. But last match, they didn't have Madison as well. And if you see Leicester matches, Madison isn't performing. He's not providing the balls. He's not creating those passes and spaces. And honestly, if Madison is not playing, I would fancy Leicester to score more goals. He was one of the weak links in the team, and since he's definitely not going to start, I fancy Pratt and maybe Barnes to start over him, and I would really fancy Vardy. Another reason why Vardy is in my team this game week is that we know that Kane is going to play Arsenal and Bournemouth in his next two matches, and so is Vardy. If you compare both of them, I think Vardy has a higher chance and a higher ceiling to score against Bournemouth and Arsenal both. Whereas Kane, I don't think he will score in both the games. Hence, I went for Vardy instead of Kane. Will Mahrez start tonight? I am hoping, and the game is tomorrow night actually, and I expect him to start tomorrow. Aubameyang or Kane? I would go Aubameyang, but actually Kane for the next two fixtures, and maybe then Aubameyang from game week 36. That's the plan for my team as well. Hey Varun, Gareth says Son got subbed off early yesterday. He could probably play again up front against Bournemouth with Kane. I think even if the last match they played, I remember they starting for formation something like 4-2-2-2. We discussed it on the live stream, but then they adopted a diamond shape formation, which again Sun was playing wide on the left hand side. So even if he starts up front with Kane, he's gonna drift wide, and that's gonna stay for his position for the entire season. So if you're fancying someone from Tottenham, you got to go for Kane instead of over Sun, in my opinion. Abhishek says, I traded Salah for Foden. That's a very popular choice. I think Salah is being transferred out by a lot of managers. Foden and Greenwood will start. Yes, I think they will start. Foden especially did not play last match. He is most likely to start along with Kevin De Bruyne. Greenwood for Connolly and Dawson for Dunk. Good two transfers or no? I think Dawson has a chance of keeping a clean sheet. I think I would fancy Watford keeping a clean sheet in this game. If you want someone in the attacker position, I did not discuss this on Instagram, but a lot of people are wanting to transfer Jimenez and the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin out. If you want to take risk and go differential, I would recommend Troy Deeney for the next couple of game weeks. His ownership is low. Watford look good when they're on attacks. There's no specific involvement by Deeney till now, but he's a differential obviously. So if he performs and he goes out scoring a couple of goals, I think it's going to be worth it for his price of 6 million, especially when the likes of Jimenez and Dominic Calvert-Lewin aren't performing at all. Watford against Norwich, yes, there's a chance of clean sheet. So Dawson is a good move. Also, he is very good in the box when on set pieces, so that's a threat as well. Abhishek says, I'm rich in the bank, what to do? That's the exact problem I had too. I still have 2.2 million in the bank. I think I'm going to invest it in Virgil van Dijk maybe next game week. Or maybe I'm going to downgrade Rashford to Greenwood and Pulisic to Mohamed Salah if they perform decently against Brighton. Now, another thing that I want to talk about is that Burnley are not going to be that stable defensively. The reason I say that is uh, Ben Mee, I think, is out, and Cork is also out. So the defensive stability has just been removed from Burnley. So if you're expecting a lot of clean sheets from Pope right now, I don't think that's going to happen. And if I see Pope not performing that, Burnley in general not performing that great against West Ham, I think this game week, then I would fancy captaining Mohamed Salah next game week. So we'll have to keep a track on it. Otherwise, I'm thinking going Jimenez transfer out. I think that's the most obvious transfer out for me. Varun, who's your captain? My captain is Kevin De Bruyne without a doubt this game week. Is it worth taking a -4 hit getting Kane in though? I would not recommend a -4 hit for Kane, especially just for one game week. Are we getting league lineups today? I think we might manage a couple of league lineups, but the importance of those league lineups are not that much in today's match. We know Pulisic is going to start. There might be some formational changes for Chelsea because Kovacic and Kante both are injured. So you might switch from a 4-3-3 to a 3-4-3. But otherwise, I don't think it's important. The league lineups are going to be that important tonight. What about Sar against Norwich? I think if you own Sar and if he's on your bench, play him over a couple of players like maybe even Jimenez. I would recommend him starting over Jimenez as well, and definitely over Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So if you have Sar, go for him and take the chance of him scoring against Norwich. Yeah, yeah, welcome. Saru says, should I downgrade Aubameyang or Jimenez for Greenwood? Yes, you can definitely go downgrade Jimenez. I think this the only chance I fancy him scoring is this game week against Sheffield United. If he does not score this game week, remove him because there's also a factor of his wife being pregnant and is due delivering in the next couple of game weeks. So I am looking about a period of game week around 36 maybe, and he's definitely going to miss game week 36 or 37. So even if he does not perform against a weak side like Sheffield United, I think you have to transfer him out. And for Greenwood, I think it's worth the risk. City and United score predictions. We'll do that in a while, Varun. Martial or Willian? Away from home, I would fancy Willian over Martial. I think Martial at home performs better than away. That's something we've observed over the days and game weeks. So, pull Willian over Martial for this game week. And in general, Willian or Pulisic, I would still fancy Pulisic over Willian. Hi, Mohit. I'm good. Hope you're fine too. Dinesh, the Marshall Willian answer specifically for this game week. Over a long period of time, it's definitely going to be Marshall. Yet it says Foster, Trent, Van Bissaka, Doherty, Kevin De Bruyne, Mahrez, Marshall, Bruno, Son, Jimenez, Jesus. Should I transfer anyone out also? Who should I captain? Chasing rank. I think even if you're chasing rank, you have to captain Kevin De Bruyne. The thing with this game week is that most managers out there are going to captain Kevin De Bruyne. So for you, even going, if you go differential, you need to increase your rank. You'll have to make sure that a differential captain scores as well as the most popular captain, which is Kevin De Bruyne, has to blank. So, in my opinion, go with the safe captain choice this game week. If he blanks, then you have your differential players, and if they score, your rank will automatically increase. Other way around, if your captain scores, then it's a win-win situation. I think going safe this game week is very essential. Captain Kevin De Bruyne, I think without a doubt, is mandatory this game week. Charlie Taylor or Saiz this game week. I would go Saiz or Charlie Taylor. West Ham look on a good run of form and they might end up scoring at home. Mohit says who to bench Mahrez, Greenwood, Giroud, or Jimenez. I think Jimenez is the most popular pick for getting benched. I think Giroud has a good chance of scoring a goal. So I'd fancy Giroud over Jimenez. Abhishek says I have 7 million in the bank. That's a lot of money. After owning Trent, Doherty, Chilwell, Aurier. Is Aspilicueta a good pick? Aspilicueta, I'm not sure of Chelsea's defensive abilities. I do not fancy them a lot. You can take a risk. Obviously, they have decent fixtures up till Norwich. So if you have the money, you can just spend it on Aspilicueta and play him. If he starts on the left, there are more chances of him giving an assist than he when he starts on the right. Hi Shreyas. Sharu says if you could bring any defender other than Trent, who would you bring in? I would bring in Virgil van Dijk over Trent. I think he's most nailed on to play all the games. The second option I would go for is Laporte. I think their fixtures, Laporte is someone whose fixtures suit him and fancy him getting a clean sheet. He's nailed on. He's going to start most of the game weeks. And I think Laporte is going to be on the list for me. Other than that, Virgil van Dijk. Nikitia or Jimenez? I would go Jimenez. With Arsenal, I think Pepe is also going to be out for Arsenal due to some personal reasons. So I'm not fancying Arsenal to go big and score a lot of goals. Even Lacazette could miss because he's been linked with, I think, Inter or Juventus. I'm not sure which club, and the Arsenal board is not happy with the link up. So there is a chance that Lacazette might not feature as well. So we're looking at a defensive formation with Saka and Nikiti and Aubameyang playing up front. But this is just a guess. I'm telling you, I have no authentic information about Arsenal, but that's all I've read, and I think that's going to happen this game week. Pepe, I am pretty sure he's going to miss out due to his personal reasons. If he's back, then he might feature, but I think he's going to miss out. Justin or Doherty? That's it. I would play Doherty. I think Justin is also. There are chances of him keeping a clean sheet, but Doherty being 6.5 million has a chance of scoring goals. Especially, we know that Pedro Neto is out, so we can see Yota playing, and Doherty could be flanking a lot on the right wing. Also, I think Traore will be benched, so I would fancy Doherty starting and playing this game. Be good. Guetta or Pope? That's a tough one. I would go Pope because we know Chelsea is going to perform good. So Guetta clean sheet chances are way too less. Varun says Martinez or Fabianski. Who to start? That's a tough one. I would go Fabianski. Ryan says Foster Bolly, Van Bissaka, Virgil van Dijk, Mane, Kevin De Bruyne, Pulisic, Bruno, Antonio, Rashford, and Aubameyang. Who should I bring in? Vardy or Kane for Aubameyang? Go for Kane. If you're not taking a hit and you have the audacity to maybe change your team next game week as well, go to Kane and then maybe we look at Vardy for game week 35 against Bournemouth again. Varun says what to do with Wolves defense. I think just keep them in your team at the moment. Give them a chance. They've had their break of 4 days. They might be strong back again. And I think the Arsenal game was not easy. We were expecting them to keep a clean sheet. That's there, but Arsenal in general is not that an easy team. So I think we they deserve a chance against Sheffield United and play them. Broody Murray says anything worth a fun hit. Alisson Trent, Doherty, Charlie Taylor, Kevin De Bruyne, Son, Bruno, Marshall, Foden, Jimenez, Rashford, McCarthy, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Justin Lascelles. I think that's a pretty much set team. There's not much to change out there. Maybe Charlie Taylor out for. I would fancy someone like Justin or Dominic Calvert-Lewin if the formation fits you. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good team. If you want to take a hit, go for Jimenez or Dominic Calvert-Lewin out for Troy Deeney, and maybe try putting Troy Deeney in your team. Al then says, don't you think Newcastle will wall up against City like they did again the FA Cup? Newcastle have shipped only 4 goals since the restart, and almost all were two stupid mistakes. I think yes, they're gonna form defensively. They're gonna try putting up a wall against City. That's gonna be there, but that's the reason I've gone with only two City assets. If you see in my team, I had the option of going from Davies to maybe someone like David Silva, Bernardo Silva, Foden, or anyone. But I think the two of them are enough, and that's a long-term move. Even if City don't ship 5, 6 goals against Newcastle, I fancy them scoring at least three. And to be honest, that's enough, and that's what we want from our players. So 2 or 3 goals, I think that's enough. If Kevin De Bruyne makes scores or goals or gives an assist, well and good. And then we can look to the next fixture, which is Brighton. Mohan says start Kiko or Foden. I would start Foden. Ryan says, but I want to bring in a player from Leicester or Arsenal because I'm thinking out of taking Soyuncu out for Bolly. Then maybe Vardy is an option for you, I think. Should I transfer out Jesus? He played 90 minutes against Southampton. If you have Jesus, then I see the point is there are not many options this game week. If you want to take a hit, you would try Troy Deeney, but that's the best outfielder option you have, the forward option you have right now. So maybe just fancy Jesus if he comes out at the point of maybe 55, 60 minutes. You can fancy him giving an assist or scoring a goal if City are writing out on the Newcastle team. So don't transfer him out. Play him this game week, and probably next game week go for Vardy against Bournemouth. YOLO Gamer 3D. My moves were Kevin De Bruyne in and Vardy in for Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Mohamed Salah. What about Saka? I don't fancy Saka scoring each week. I would fancy Nikitia over Saka. So I'm not sure about that move. Aditya says next week Vardy for Kane or Greenwood for Nikita, and someone for Aaron Van Bissaka. I would fancy Vardy if he plays nice against Arsenal, so that's something you'll have to watch out for. I think Vardy against Bournemouth is going to be more explosive than Kane against Bournemouth. Haller is a great option if he plays. He's back in training. I don't think he's going to start. Broody Murray says, "Who's your captain this game week?" It's going to be Kevin De Bruyne. Although I've started to have some doubts, it's between Kevin De Bruyne and Bruno for sure. But I think I'm going to stick to Kevin De Bruyne. Wuhan says Jimenez is going to start and should I put Kiko over Jimenez? That's a tough one. That's something I've also been looking for. I think Norwich did try and are gonna go all out this game week. So if you're gonna fancy someone to keep a clean sheet, I'm not sure if you want to do that. Just go Jimenez, give him the last opportunity. If he scores, well and good. If he doesn't, then you know he's gonna be a definite transfer out in your team next game week. Dipankar says Kevin De Bruyne, Bruno Salah captain. I would go Kevin De Bruyne or Bruno. Don't fancy Salah this game week. Most probably Kevin De Bruyne in the case. Alden says thoughts on captaining Mahrez over Kevin De Bruyne. Would it be risky considering the fact that Kevin De Bruyne's ownership rate is really high? Yes, I think that's going to be risky. Also, the fact that even if Mahrez start, I don't fancy him playing 90 minutes. I see him playing around 60 minutes. And if God forbid and he does not start, it's going to be a very big risk. Site 1077 says, Captain help please go either Kevin De Bruyne or Bruno Fernandes. The only reason I think I knew this question is gonna come up a lot of times. The reason I'm thinking Kevin De Bruyne or Bruno is that Aston Villa are playing very good defensively. They have a stable defense. They're performing neat defensively, and I don't fancy Manchester United going 5-0 or 5-2 against Aston Villa just the way they did against Bournemouth. On the other hand, City had just lost a game against Southampton. I think they're going to put it all they have on the line, and they're going to go against Newcastle and it's at their home. That's another factor. At home, this year they've played Arsenal 3-0, Burnley 5-0, Liverpool 4-0. So I fancy Manchester City to score a lot of goals this game week. My assumption is either Jesus or Sterling gets benched, not both in my opinion. Honestly, in my opinion, I think Jesus will get benched. But let's see. Yola Gamer says, will you bring in Salah or Mane or Trent in the remainder of the season? Yes, Salah or Mane is on the cards depending on how they perform against Brighton and how Burnley perform defensively against West Ham. So if I see that there's a potential of a brace or a hat trick, Pulisic and Rashford will be out for Greenwood and Salah or Mane depending on who performs how. Your take on Aaron Van Bissaka versus Marshall long term as a third United player. This game week, play Aaron Van Bissaka. Long term, I think Marshall will be beneficial. Aditya says, I'm thinking of Foden next week, but will he start two consecutive games? I think we've seen Foden start alternate games. That's a pattern that has to be observed. So if he starts this game week, I'm not fancying him starting the next one. Ryan says, yes, he might not start against Burnley, but it's a great option against Norwich. Yes, true. Wuhan says yes. Sterling captain, that's a big differential choice. Yes, we put it up on the Instagram page as well, Junaid. But I would still go with Kevin De Bruyne. The fact that Sterling misses too many chances, there's no doubt he'll get a lot of chances in the match if City are playing the best. But I don't fancy him. He's just like Jesus. He'll get 100 chances and he'll score one out of them. On the other hand, if De Bruyne gets four chances, he'll score on three occasions out of them. So I fancy De Bruyne or Bruno over Sterling definitely anytime. Random bloke, hey. Yash Sharma says Greenwood, Rashford, Robertson. I have Trent or Greenwood, Marshall, Aspilicueta. Go with Greenwood, Marshall, and Aspilicueta. With Robertson, I think he'll be benched this game week because there's a lot of injury concern around him. He has a tight calf muscle injury at the moment. There are chances that Robertson might get benched this game week. Jack says, has Mahrez stopped performing well? Is it time to bring Billion of Pulisic? I think Mahrez was performing very good against Southampton. Before he was subbed off, he was one of the best players in the City team performing against Southampton. If he starts, I fancy him scoring a couple of goals or maybe a couple of assists or something like that this game week. If he doesn't start and if he doesn't perform, then maybe Pulisic is on the cards. Thoughts on Alonso? I think if Chelsea played 3-4-3, he might start this game week, but I don't see him starting game week out game week, especially after the performance of both Aspilicueta, especially on the left wing against Watford. I don't think it's a buy-in for me, Alden. This is Pulisic a good bid for Mahrez. Next game week, depending on who, Mahrez starts or not. Honestly, should I play Garcia? If you have Garcia, you can fancy him playing. Although I think Pep might go to Otamendi or Fernandinho in that position. Most probably Otamendi because Pep tends to play Fernandinho in the big matches on the centre back role. But I think Otamendi might start over Garcia this game week. Sidon says, I have a defense of Trent, Virgil van der and Doherty too. Do you think this is a good enough till the end? Yes, it's a good enough defense till the end. There's going to be 2 game weeks where it's going to get tough. You might want to get someone like Laporte for either Trent or Virgil van Dijk in those fixtures. But apart from that, it's a very set defense. Thanks, Varun, for promoting our channel. Yolo Gamer says, will Holgate play? If he doesn't, I have Connolly. Should I take Holgate out for another defender or save a transfer and play Connolly? Let's play Connolly. I think he might start. You might want to put him in the lineup. If he does not start, he's not going to come on. You can just put him in the lineup. I think the chances are very less, but don't transfer him out for another defender. The reason I say this is because I think you're most probably going to take a hit. So it's essentially going to end up giving you only 2 points. So just pick Connolly in that state. Ryan, don't play Connolly. But I think it makes no sense taking your minus for it for another defender. Yes, Julian Mares did have a good game against Southampton, honestly. Dominic Calvert-Lewin to Dini -4, meaning I would bench Jimenez. Okay, that's a tough one. Don't take a hit for Dini. I don't fancy him scoring so many goals of worth the hit. I don't think he's worth the hit. Random block says bench boost Allison Trent, Aurier, Garcia, Virgil van Dijk, Kevin De Bruyne, Willian Fernandez, Giroud. Ian Nacho. Ian Nacho is a good choice. And Edison, Dawson, Antonio Greenwood. That's a good bench boost. The only concern is that if Brighton end up scoring, your bench boost is going down, mate. Soroush says Joe Gomez is a defensive option over Virgil van Dijk. Yes, honestly, I've never owned the likes of Trent. I owned Virgil van Dijk in the initial game weeks, but then I switched back to Gomez, and I think Gomez is a pretty set defender. I don't see Virgil van Dijk scoring a lot of goals till the end of the season, anyways. So if you can see 1 million, I think it's worth it. You can invest those 1 million in players like Marshall, Mahrez, Foden, Rashford, Vardy, and other players. Random Block says best defender greater than 5.2 million. I think Van Bissaka falls into that category. Laporte, as I've said a couple of times, Virgil van Dijk, Trent, and maybe Doherty as well if he performs this game week. I think Iheanacho is a good difference. He's going to start up front with Vardy, that's for sure. And you see him getting a lot of in the box ahead of Vardy at times. So I think it's a good differential option. In the team, I think my only concern would be the triple Liverpool defense. If it works out, very good. If it doesn't, it's going to be shambles. Will Mahrez and De Bruyne both start? I am fancying them both to start. I think De Bruyne is going to start for sure. Mahrez has a very high possibility of starting. And what is your rank? We just fell off back to 250. It's exactly where we started before the game week. We ended up there again. And that's because of all the mess up we had the last game week. It was a very bad game week. Honestly, I think it's because of Liverpool's performance, especially Robertson and Origi. They performed horribly bad. I mean, Origi was just standing in the entire game on the field and he was literally doing nothing. On the other hand, Robertson was too lazy and sloppy on the field. I mean, it was a very bad game, honestly. Should I play Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Jimenez? Play Jimenez. I don't fancy Dominic Calvert-Lewin scoring a lot of goals. On the other hand, a lot of people have Ings, but the only problem with Ings at the moment, I feel, is that Southampton haven't trained in the last 2 days. That's something we learned from the press conference in a couple of while ago, and it's going to be a problem for Southampton because if you're not practicing, I don't think they're going to pull off a magic trick on the field. Trust Trent Aurier versus Trust Aurier versus Bournemouth or drop Ederson for a City defender. I think trust Aurier. If someone's going to perform against Bournemouth, I think it's the defense of Tottenham Hotspurs. Brody says also, should I play Charlie Taylor or James Justin? I would fancy Charlie Taylor or James Justin. I think Arsenal at home are pretty good attacking wise, and you never know, they might even end up scoring, especially after the performance against Wolves. You cannot take the risk. Francisco says, what do you all think about Ings? Honestly, I just said that they've not trained in the last 2 days, so that's a concern for me. Although I think Ralph has said in the press a couple of times he's going to play. He's going to play Ings over and over again. So I don't think there's going to be a doubt of him starting, but his performance might deteriorate because of the non-practice sessions they had. Aurier or Trent captain to catch rank or play safe with Kevin De Bruyne captain. Play safe with Kevin De Bruyne, honestly. Shreyas says he sees Vardy. Yes, that's the transfer I ended up. The thought behind that was that Kane and Vardy both play Arsenal and Bournemouth, and I think I fancy Vardy scoring more goals against Bournemouth and Arsenal both over Kane. Will you have Chelsea league lineups? We can check for that. I'm not sure, but I think it's going to be pretty standard. If you have specific questions about Chelsea lineup, they mostly can be answered by me itself. So I'm not sure if you need a lineup for that, but nevertheless, we'll find it out. Giroud is my differential striker pick. I think it's a good differential striker pick, honestly, because Giroud on his day can end up scoring a hat trick itself. Will Connolly start? I'm not sure. I think he should start honestly because he's been starting a couple of games, but we cannot confirm because we'll not have the league lineups. I think the Wolves' defense might end up keeping a clean sheet. If they don't in this fixture, I don't see them keeping a clean sheet till the end of the season. Then Pulisic or Willian says Sport Fanatic. I would fancy Pulisic. The only reason I think Willian is getting those points is because of the penalties. If you take out the penalties, I don't see Willian scoring a lot of goals. On the other hand, Pulisic, I fancy him scoring goals and giving assists without the penalties and free kicks. So yes, I think Pulisic over Willian is eminent. Kane or Salah slash Mane. If you already own any one of them, then play them. Don't make a transfer move for any one of them. Honestly, what was your transfer? My transfer was Kevin De Bruyne and Vardy in for Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Mohamed Salah. You starting all three strikers? Yes, I'm going to start all three strikers. I might switch out Saiz for Kiko Firmino, but mostly it's going to be Jimenez, Rashford, and Vardy. Should I transfer out Richie or Holgate? Who should I transfer in for one of them? I think Matt Ritchie transfer out is more useful. He's 5.1 million, I think, or 5.3, and you can use that money for Van Bissaka or someone like Aurier. On the other hand, Holgate does have a good run of fixtures later on, so you can just keep bench him for the game week. Hi Harsh Gupta, Kevin De Bruyne, Rashford, Bruno, captain. Go with either Bruno or Kevin De Bruyne. Yours says the thing I have been noticing is that teams who beat Man City either lose or draw the next game. So I would start the Everton assets if you own them. If you own them, yes, you can start them. But the only asset most of the people own is either Richarlison or Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Dominic Calvert-Lewin looks sharp. If you own him, you can start him. But I transfer him out because I was too fed up with him giving me 2 points each game week. Why Vardy? Because he was on the cards, especially for the Bournemouth match, anyways, and so was Kane. They both essentially have the same fixtures, Bournemouth plus Arsenal, and I fancy Vardy scoring more goals in the combination of both the fixtures over Kane. So hence Vardy over Kane, and there was definitely I was definitely going to remove Dominic calvert. Thoughts on Chelsea away kit? I think it's pretty decent, and that's the max I think about it. We'll take a 1 week punt on Dini versus Norwich. I think if you are taking a punt, I would take it for 3 weeks. And if you are using a free transfer in it instead of Dominic calvert I would fancy it, honestly. Tara Kumar says, "Should I? Who should I get in for Aubameyang?" I think Vardy seems a good option if you want to go differential, just like Sports Fanatic. You could go Troy Deeney. Even Greenwood is an option if you don't own him. Random Junkie says, "Money isn't a problem. Who should I get, Aurier or Aspilicueta?" I would then fancy Aspilicueta over Aurier. And honestly, if he starts on the left, there's a lot of potential out there. Dinesh says, "Whom to start, Saka or Richie?" Saka, without a doubt. Richie, I don't think he'll keep a clean sheet or even score a goal against City. Shreyas says, "Which team do you support?" I support Chelsea. It's Ryan TV says, "I've made two changes, Aurier for Dunk and Greenwood for Kane." All the best, Ryan. Tarakumar says, "Why not Kane instead of Vardy?" I think that's what I've explained. That's the reason. The reason behind it. I think that Vardy will score more goals in both the fixtures over Kane. So I fancy Vardy over Kane. That's the only reason. Money not an issue. Keep Holgate or Richie. Keep Holgate. Is Kane a no? No, only for 1 game week? I think it's a no to me. The way Tottenham performed yesterday, I wouldn't fancy Kane going out and scoring a hat trick or something like that. My last week was around 56. It was a horrible week, and hence we're not even discussing it because there's nothing to discuss about my team last game week. It just did not fall in place. And as we discussed on the last team, we knew that my defense is going to get broken down, and that's the same concerns I have this game week as well. Because clean sheets are a very important part of your score going high. Krul or Henderson? I would go Henderson. Captain Bruno or Kevin De Bruyne? Both of them are equally good. Oisen, I would fancy Kevin De Bruyne. You could go Bruno either. Either way, it's good. Yes, random junkie. I think Holgate is injured. He's definitely injured. Just bench him if you're keeping him in your team. Ryan says, "Also, I realize I have Johnny on my bench, so I could start him for Soyuncu. Is there any point of no? There's no point of taking minus for Doherty or Johnny. If you have a Wolves defender, they're essentially going to give you 6 points if they keep a clean sheet. Just fancy Johnny and play him. Is Holgate injured bad? No, it's not a bad injury. Could keep him out for a week at max 10 days, but he's not a feature, I think, in this game week. What's our formation? It's 3-4-3. We tried 4-4-2 last week and it was horribly bad. I think I my thought process with Robinson was correct, but it didn't work out. But this week we're back to 3-4-3. Watching the Spurs Everton game yesterday, I've noticed that Lo Celso played a more advanced role, almost a number 10. He's playing a very advanced role, but I don't see him scoring a lot of goals, honestly. The thing with Tottenham is that once they score a goal, they don't fancy and they don't try to score more goals. They usually try to sit deep, defend, and maybe score a goal or a couple of goals on the counter attacks. That's the reason I'm not fancying Kane scoring a hat trick or maybe a brace against Bournemouth, even though Bournemouth are playing very bad. Ings or Greenwood, who do I start with Vardy? I would go with Greenwood. If Newcastle go five at the back, do you think Man City could inflict the damage they are capable of? Yes, they can definitely inflict the damage, especially if Sterling starts up in front instead of Jesus. I think he might do a couple of dives in the box and he would end up giving Kevin De Bruyne a penalty. That's something I'm really looking forward to. Burton says scout picks have selected Son and Kane surprisingly. There is a chance they can score big, but the way they performed yesterday, I don't fancy them, honestly. And especially then they have Arsenal, so that's going to be a very tough game, even though it's on their home. If you've noticed that Spurs also, the Spurs performance deteriorates a lot when they play away from home. So if it was Bournemouth at home, I would fancy Kane definitely, even would captain him. But away from home, yes, they've not been that good. Chelsea forever says Henderson, Saiz, Justin, Basham, Pulisic, Kevin De Bruyne, Mane, Sterling, Willian, Greenwood, Jimenez, and that's it. That's I think Justin and Basham are clean sheet concerns for me, but the rest is good. Ryan says, what about Suchek from West Ham? Good fifth midfielder option. I think Antonio, Bowen are better options. If you're going for someone, go with Antonio. I think from West Ham. Lukeman says captain Fernandez, Rashford, or Marshall. Fernandez. Sports Fanatics says, would you consider triple captain Kevin De Bruyne this game week? Yes, there's a high chance he hauls big. There's obviously a risk to it, but I would fancy captain because I don't think there's a better game week than this game week to triple captain him. A lot of people would vouch for Kevin De Bruyne against Bournemouth, but you need to consider that it's going to be the game week before the FA Cup semi-final. So if there's a game week when Kevin De Bruyne gets benched, I think it's going to be the Bournemouth game, and I wouldn't fancy triple captaining him when he's benched. Yes, I've read that big man is going to start Dominic Calvert-Lewin over Jimenez. I think if you have the flexibility in your midfield, I think he's going to start a five midfield formation. It's going to be 3-5-2. So if you have that formation, it's good. I'm giving Jimenez the last chance. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was definitely out for my team. So I think I'm going to give chance, especially because Wolves have rested. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, I would go for maybe Jimenez to Troy Deeney next game week, depending on how Deeney performs, obviously. Bench Antonio or Dominic Calvert-Lewin if we had to. I would bench Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I would just fancy Antonio on home more than Calvert-Lewin. It's Ryan. Okay, final team. Foster Johnny, Van Bissaka, Aurier, Bruno, Mane, Kevin De Bruyne, Pulisic, Antonio, Vardy, Greenwood. Varuna ended up scoring 56 points. Just way too horrible and below standards. But my defense entirely scored 4 points. So that's the part where we messed it up, and that's the part where it all went wrong. Should I transfer Salah Mane? For who? Salah or Mane in? That's a tough. If you're transferring them in, I think that's not a move you want to make this game week because there's no certainty of Liverpool starting the strongest lineup against Brighton. So don't transfer them in this game week. Probably you must have Son, Mahrez, or Kevin De Bruyne. Just stick to them. Start Saiz or Egan. I think that's it's equal probability of keeping a clean sheet. I would start Saiz over Egan. I think Wolves have a higher ceiling of scoring than Sheffield United. Neon says, how many subscribers are you on? I think we crossed 250 or 300, I think, recently, but I'm not sure. I got 72 points, rubbish. Ryan says he got 72 points and he says it's rubbish. Honestly, 72 points, even 60 plus points you must have had a small green arrow depending on your rank, but 70 plus is definitely a good game week. Looking at the average last week, Vardy a good option for the next two. I think Vardy is a good option for the next two. I'm considering Fernandez to Aspilicueta for a -4 hit. If you're gonna play Aspilicueta, you might want to do that. If you have a good decent bench, then you must just want to bench Fernandez for some other defender like Kiko Firmino. Dini versus Norwich or Saka versus Leicester. Dini. I think you would fancy Dini. Tarakumar, we fell down to the same rank. We started from 250 and we ended up with 250 again last game week. Initially, with the United performance, we thought that if City perform well and Salah scores, we would end up with a green arrow and close to 100. But again, it's back to where it started. 250k. That's the overall rank I'm looking at the moment. Dini is also on penalties, yes, but Dini hasn't been too involved in the game. If you see Watford's game, Watford do attack. I think Sar is a decent option, but they've not been involved a lot in the. Dini has not been involved a lot in the Watford attacks. What about Dukure? I think he played decent. Uh, Dukure, I'm not sure if he was that upfront like he was before the lockdown. So if you want someone, maybe Sar or Dukure, honestly. Sports Fanatics is maybe Lundstrom out for last. Lundstrom is not going to start for the entire season. I don't think he's going to start. So if you're transferring him out for Aspilicueta, that's a good move. Because we know he's not going to start for sure. Definitely he's going to start. Neon says Allison Size, Doherty, Trent, Kevin De Bruyne, Pulisic, Bergwijn. That's a good differential. Antonio again. Jimenez, Kendini. That's a good differential team. I think Bergwijn and Antonio are the two differential picks alongside Dini. If it if they bang if it's they score, it's bang on. Otherwise, I don't fancy Bergwijn scoring honestly. He's good sometimes in certain positions, but I'm not sure if he'll start, as well as I'm not sure if he'll score. He's more of the player who runs on the wings and will put the cross for Harry Kane. Sports Fanatic says start Henderson or Patricio. Patricio, I would fancy Patricio. Bojuan was rested yesterday, so might start. He might. There's no doubt with it, but I don't see him cutting inside and scoring a lot of goals. I'm not sure if I should bench Saiz and go Kiko Firmino or maybe bench Van Bissaka. I would not bench Van Bissaka honestly, but Saiz or Kiko Firmino, that's a doubt I have. Start Foden or Jimenez, start Foden. I think if you own Foden, maybe you want to start him against Newcastle. There's obviously a chance for an assist at least. Tarakumar says, should I bench Justin against Arsenal today? Yes, I think you should bench him. Arsenal might end up scoring at least a goal. Maybe they might not go and win it. I'm looking at a scoreline of maybe 2-2, but they might score a goal. Who should I bench? I'm not sure if I should be benching Saiz or Kiko Firmino. I mean, the way Norwich played last game week, they were really hungry for scoring goals. I think Pookie will start this match, and that's going to affect and that's the only reason that I'm not starting Kiko Firmino over Saiz, because Norwich did look very hungry for scoring a goal last game. Sports Fanatic, well, we just call the page as FPL Tips. You can follow us on Instagram. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing to the channel. I have both Foden and Jimenez. I should bench one. Who to bench? Bench Jimenez. I think if you have Foden for the Newcastle game, play him. Cantwell is suspended. Yes, I think he's injured more than suspended. He's not going to start. But Pookie is the standout player for me from Norwich. Does Burnley have a good chance of a clean sheet? I think their chances are deteriorated, especially with me and Cork out. So they have a chance, but not a standout chance. I would fancy them if they had their original defensive lineup. Sydney says sell Rashford for Greenwood by Pulisic. I think that's a good move. Honestly, I think I want to switch to Greenwood as well, because at the price of 4.5 or 6 million, he's offering a lot. In my opinion, Norwich are beating Watford. Hopefully, I'm wrong and suffering faster on. I desperately wish Norwich win that game. Chelsea defenders in. I would not say Chelsea defenders in. To be honest, I don't even see them keeping a clean sheet against Crystal Palace. I think the scoreline will end up being 1-1 or 2-1. 2-1 to Chelsea. That's my prediction, honestly. But in long term, also you have only two more fixtures, which is Sheffield United and Norwich, which are decent enough to keep a clean sheet. The next two are Liverpool and Wolves. I think Pulisic will start. There's no reason why Pulisic should be benched. I think they had sufficient enough time to recover and he'll start. Three, four, five, six finishes as per you. I think it's going to be Chelsea, Leicester, United, and Wolves. That's for sure. And I think they're going to finish in that format itself. Start button, lol. Okay, we'll start button. Neon, I think we'll start button. Oh, hopefully, Ryan does not get injured and button comes on. But we'll fancy starting button this game. I've bench boost and free hit confused when to use. Free hit, I would fancy game week 38. I initially had the thought for game week 36, but then the fact that De Bruyne could be benched just removes it out of question. Use it in game week 38 when you have a league lineup for City and maybe Chelsea, Liverpool, all of them, and then you can make a very good team. You have bench boost whenever you feel that you have enough players playing in that game week. If you have decent players and decent fixtures, play it because there's not much chance for a bench boost right now. Who is your captain? My captain is at the moment Kevin De Bruyne. I won't be able to make it in time. Please do a summary for me. I'm not sure what summary are you talking about, Sydney. Any update on when Aguero is back? He's suspended for the rest of the season, mate. Game week 38 City playing Norwich. Best possible time to play free hit. All league lineups. Imagine knowing the City team playing Norwich. I'm not sure if we'll get all league lineups, but we might end up getting the City lineup for sure. So that's a factor. Obviously, if you know the lineups for City versus Norwich, it's a very big boost. You know that another thing that you might want to ditch your triple up United, especially against Leicester. So that's another factor of me going free hit in game week 38. Are these good transfers? Dominic Calvert-Lewin to Greenwood, Mahrez to Foden, Nikita to Vardy, and Marshall to Richarlison. Okay, that's. I think if you have Marshall, keep Marshall. Don't just make a rash move to Greenwood. Mahrez to Foden seems unreasonable. I think both of them going to play the same amount of minutes. If you own one of them, just stick to that. Nikita to Vardy is possible and a good possible transfer. Yes, we. I think Brody Murray. We discussed that him and his wife is due, and will deliver around the game week 36 mark. And I said, and that's when we're gonna remove Jimenez. So that's another reason I'm playing Jimenez because it's probably his last chance to score a goal in my team. If he does, well and good. If he doesn't, he's anyways out. City have great fixtures. Thought you would go triple city. I would not go triple city because the fact that Newcastle will also try and defend deep. One, secondly, there's a lot of rotation. So just putting all of your eggs in one basket does not suit the team. So I would just fancy going and distributing my funds to maybe someone like Vardy or Marshall. What is your overall rank? We ended up on 250k after the last game week. Honestly, a very bad game week, a horrible one, but then you've got to bounce back from whatever it is. My team, I'm not sure if I'm in the league. I think one of my other moderators are in the league. I think the other moderators are in the league. I actually just made the league because a lot of people requested on the page. We were not planning to make a league until next season. Could you explain what FPL draft is? Try understanding what got confused. It essentially is that each there are certain number of players your friends can join the league, and in the league, each team gets only each player is sold only to one team. So basically, you've got to choose. If someone chooses De Bruyne, you cannot choose De Bruyne. So if someone chooses Rashford, you definitely can't choose Rashford. So basically, you cannot have multiple players. Yes, we can play draft next season. For the people who are following us on YouTube, we could create a draft league. I think it's very pretty much fun as well. We could do that as well. Jimenez to Ings for a -4. For a -4, that's a tough one. I don't think it's worth the -4. I don't think it's worth the hit because Southampton are obviously going to be tired, and because if I'm not wrong, according to a stat, all of them players have averaged about 8 kilometers in the game, and Everton are going to defend deep as usual at home, so it's going to be a tough one. No, don't worry, mate. My team is set. I usually make the transfers late on the stream, but I was pretty sure what to do, and I did it yesterday night after seeing the match. So that's there, and I think it's already set. I think there are not a lot of people. Most of the people might have forgotten the deadline. I'm not expecting a lot of people showing up today, anyways. Show me your set team. We'll do that in a couple of minutes if you want. We can just do that right now as well. Okay, so we are set with this team if you can see it on your screen. Yesterday's match was boring, but gladly we ended up with 8 points from Warrior. So that's the thing. So Kiran, this is how my team is forming up. Who's your captain? Jamie Mustafa. My captain is Kevin De Bruyne against Newcastle. I know it's going to be risky, but it's going to be the captain for everyone. So even if he fails, it's going to be a fail for everyone. I don't see him failing, although, but it's going to be a fail for everyone. So it just neutralizes, and you have players like Fernandes, Vardy, and Rashford in your team. So my captain is De Bruyne. The team formation is going to be Pope in goal, Aurier, Van Bissaka, and Saiz in defense. De Bruyne, Pulisic, Mahrez, Fernandes in the midfield, Vardy, Jimenez, Rashford up front. What's my score prediction? Okay, we've got to predict the score as well. Varun asked me if I remember correctly. We'll do that in just a minute. Play Kiko instead of size. Broody says play Kiko instead of size. I was thinking of playing Kiko over size, but the fact that Norwich will just go with to the game with everything they got, and it's going to be very tough for them, for Watford to defend, because if Norwich have a chance to survive in the league, this is the match. This is the do or die match for them. So I actually fancy Norwich winning. The other moderators don't, but I fancy them scoring a goal at least. So hence the size over Kiko Firmino move. What do you think of Bruno as a captain? It's a good, very decent captain. You can go Bruno over Kevin De Bruyne as well. Whom to bench? Aurier or size? Bench size in that case. Score predictions. You just mention the game you want me to predict the score for. De Jong says, I really want to bring Kevin De Bruyne back, but I have to sell Marshall. You can sell Marshall for Kevin De Bruyne and then maybe get in Greenwood up front. We'll try to get the league lineups for the Chelsea game if you want. City and United score predictions. I think the City game would end up being a 3-0 or a 4-0 for me, and the United game would be a 2-0. I It might also be 2-1, but I'm hoping it's 2-0. For me, it's City 4-1 De Bruyne, Mahrez, Sterling, and one random goal. Hopefully, it's Foden. Son, Captain Crazy over Kevin De Bruyne and Bruno. I think if he scores, then it's okay because then you'll be at par with everyone. But if he fails and either of Kevin De Bruyne or Bruno score, it's gonna drop your rank drastically, mate. So don't risk it this game week. My captain is Kane. If he scores, well and good. If he doesn't, be ready to see a red arrow. Do we have private leagues for FPL tips? It would be fun. I think there's a public league on the Instagram page. That's the only league we have at the moment. Uh, yes, I was planning a league for the YouTube community, but let's see. We'll do that next year, not this year. Is Pulisic starting? I think he's going to start. There's no doubt. There's no chance of him getting benched unreasonably. The Norwich game and the Arsenal game. Norwich versus Watford is a very tricky one. Honestly, the way Watford, I think it's going to be end up 3-1 or 2-1 to Watford. I hope Norwich outperform and my prediction is wrong, but the way Norwich played and the way Watford is playing, 2 or 3-1 to Watford. Tarakumar says, and sorry, the Arsenal game I think is going to be 2-all. Tarakumar says, which defense line is weak, Newcastle or Aston? At the moment, Newcastle, because they're missing out a lot of the defensive players. Longstaff, then Richie just came back, Lascelles is out. I think they're missing out the essential players. I captained Kane yesterday, that pissed me off, and I'll tell him. Well, that's the exact reason I did not buy him. Varun says a popular demand, close group for top 10 consumers of FPL content. Uh, that's something just to biased, Varun. I'm not sure if we would plan to do that anytime soon. I see a lot of people joining the stream right now for the league lineups. FPL 21 is going to be lit with Werner, Ziyech, Havertz, so Chelsea finally will have some solid Chelsea options. I think I'm going to fancy Werner a lot when he's in the FPL next year. Javed says, brother, who to captain? Kevin De Bruyne, Salah, Marshall, Bruno, Rashford, Mane, or Jimenez. That's a lot of options. I would say Kevin De Bruyne or Bruno. I would short it down to Kevin De Bruyne or Bruno. My captain is Kevin De Bruyne. You could go with either my captain or go Bruno, but I would not fancy the other options. Kevin De Bruyne or Bruno for captaincy. Either is good, Koki. Um, I'm fancying Kevin De Bruyne. You can go Bruno as well. Both of them are in the exact same positions. Both of them are the main focal point for their team. Both of them are on penalties. So either way, it's going to be good captaincy move, I think. Bench Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Greenwood. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, honestly. Yes, we can keep a private league for the YouTube community, and that's what I said. We might keep a public league for this Instagram page and a private league for the YouTube community. Werner will cost me 11 million. I think it's going to cost around 10 or 10.5 million. Maybe 9.5, not sure, but 10 or 10.5 is my assumption. Koki says doubling up on Wolves defender playing Martinez instead of Patricio. I think doubling up is a safer bet. You can even fancy Martinez. They've had 3 clean sheets in 3 games. Is Foreign gonna start? I think he will start. Varun says league lineups time. I'm not sure if I'm there with league lineups at the moment. If we get them, well and good. If we don't, I don't think there's a particular need for getting league lineups. It's going to be pretty much the same. I could actually just read out the previous lineup, and I think they're going to be exactly the same. The only concern with Chelsea is if they're going to go 4-3-3 or 3-4-3. Nikita or Greenwood, fancy Greenwood. Trent expected to be benched, mate. I'm not expecting Trent to be benched. I'm expecting Robertson because he has a calf injury. So if someone's going to get benched, it's going to be Robertson, and James would probably play there. If Trent is benched for Nico, then I think Salah will start. So there's a lot of decision to be made on the right wing. But yes, definitely there's a chance of Liverpool rotating, and that's the reason I've removed Mo Salah from the team. Because if Liverpool do not start their specific set solid team, their performance deteriorate, and I don't see them scoring 3 or 4 goals against any side. Bruno or Marshall, captain, go with Bruno. Random Junkie says, can you let me know if Aspilicueta starts or not? Aspilicueta is definitely going to start. The question if he starts on the right or left, but I think he'll definitely start. I don't. I think he's only been benched 3 or 4 times in the last 5 or 6 years, so I don't think there's a doubt with it. Will Garcia start? I think he'll be benched for Otamendi. There is a chance he starts. That's what the team has predicted: Otamendi or Fernandinho for Garcia. But if you have him, play him. If he's benched, then he might just be benched for the entire game. Pulisic or Mahrez? Play Mahrez, I think, for this game week. Captain Bruno or Kevin De Bruyne? Equally good captains. Go with your gut feeling. I think it's Kevin De Bruyne for me. Okay, I have a league. There's certain league lineups I have. We have 5 minutes left, so the people who are here for the league lineups can keep a ear on it. We have Kepa, Christensen, Barkley, Willian, Zuma, Giroud, Mason Mount, Pulisic, Reece James, Billy Gilmore, and Aspilicueta. So we're going with the 4-3-3. So Aspilicueta starts, and he's going to start on the left wing. The people who are waiting for Aspilicueta to get them in your team, go with Aspilicueta. I fancy him possibly if he's going to give an assist, he's going to give an assist from the left flank, and he's starting there. So the people who are waiting for Aspilicueta, he's starting, and you can bring him in your teams. For Crystal Palace, is pretty much the same. So I don't think if you want some player, if you want me to tell you some player from Crystal, uh, you can put in the chat. From Norwich, we have Pukki starting, Teti, Bundia, Klose, Lewis, Hernandez, Vranic. I think it's a very strong lineup from Norwich. I'm not fancying for Watford to keep a clean sheet. Also, I do not see. No, okay, I see Kiko Firmino starting, but nevertheless, Droidini is starting, Sar is starting, Kepu is starting, and Ducour is starting. So it's pretty much the same lineup for Norwich and Watford. I think I want to start Saiz over Kiko Firmino this game week. I think I have faith in Rashford. Is Pulisic and Azpilicueta playing? Yes, they're playing. Okay, I'll just update the league lineups on Instagram. Wait a second. I would suggest Welbeck over Dini. I would suggest Dini. I think for the penalty reason. Welbeck, yes, he was great, but he usually also ends up being a very easy substitute option. In team news, yes, we predict it's the very same team. Gilmore starts instead of Kante, and that's the same team Chelsea played against Watford. Key starts, Cantwell is out, and Crystal and Watford play the same team. A lot of people DM me on Instagram in the last couple of minutes, and it's actually impossible for me to answer on Instagram right now alongside the stream. So if someone is watching who's DM me on Instagram as well, put your questions here, and I'll definitely answer them. Yes, the watching always drops after the league lineups. Doherty to Aspilicueta for -4. No, I don't think so. It's worth it. League lineups, yes, they've been posted. It's the same lineup. Only Billy Gilmore starts and Pookie starts. No difference for the other two teams. Should I get Vardy for Jesus? That's a tough call. It's on you. I think if Jesus starts, he's worth it. You might not want to take a hit for Vardy against Arsenal. Should I take a -4 to get Foden for Cantwell? Yes, you can take a -4 for Foden. Jimenez out for a -4? I don't think so. Back any team news? Yes, it's the same team news. Aspilicueta is starting. Pulisic is starting. Pookie is starting. Who's better, Greenwood or Rashford? I think with the price, Greenwood. If Rashford scores, then it's okay. Otherwise, Greenwood. Bring in Gilmore. I don't think. I don't think so. Don't bring in Gilmore. Okay, last minute. I think I don't have to change anything, but let's keep just check. Go check your captains. Go check your vice captains. Make sure your team is set for the game week. Last minute. Will Chilwell start? No, he'll not start. Should I keep Traore? I think we posted on Instagram. Sell him for Foden. I think if you can do it right now in a minute, go do it. Okay, last minute. I think. It's almost time. Unless the leak lineups are fake. I don't think they're fake. They're usually very reliable. But if they're fake, then anyways we not still do because I think it's gonna be the same lineup. Villain and Pulisic both starting. I think yes, Villain and Pulisic are both starting. I think it's gonna be pretty. I was pretty sure what the lineup for Chelsea is gonna be. No surprises there. And I think Chelsea will score big in tonight's match. We have the lineup for Chelsea. We'll just read it out in a minute. And Pulisic, Willian, Mason Mount, Barkley, Gilmore, Aspilicueta, Reece James. It's the same lineup we posted on Instagram. The same lineup for Crystal Palace as well. And for the Norwich and Watford game, we have the exact same lineup. Okay, guys. So the league lineups were perfect. They were accurate. And hope you guys have a great game week. It's going to be a very important game week in prospect for the long term and for the season if it goes well. If my defense keeps a clean sheet, I'm expecting at least 2 out of the 4 clean sheet. If that happens, we can see the rank getting down to around 100k. If not, we're going to end up being around 200k again. So it's a very important game week and hope uh, it pans out good. Chelsea forever says my team is set bench boost. He has played bench boost. All the best to everyone. I think this is a wrap for the game week. So yes, this is FPL Tips signing off. Cheers, guys. Best of luck.